Okay, guys, today I want to watch Asmongold's review and opinion about the Diablo 4 Vessel of Hatred campaign. They uploaded this video where he finishes the campaign and then gives his thoughts. The video is really long. We are not going to watch all of this that he's just playing the game. We are going to watch the final 5 minutes where he gives his opinion about this whole thing. You guys know that I love Asmon, so we are going to see what he has to say about it.
I mean, so there were some high points, right? There definitely were high points.
There were
for the story. Like,
majority
I
of
think
low.
that it was cool when like they opened the way with the water. That was cool.
That was cool for sure.
I think the only interesting character was that Urianger guy. I think he was cool. I feel like all the rest of them were pretty much like just boring.
Who is that?
Urivar? Yeah, Urivar. Yeah, there you go.
Urivar. Okay, Urivar. Urivar is really cool. What are my favorite characters? Urivar is really cool. That is one of the best ones, if not the best one. I liked Eru. I liked Eru until certain point in the story. I don't know if he's going to spoil this or not. We will have to see. I won't spoil until he spoils. So there is a point in the story where Eru goes off the rails. That is a spoiler. But I liked him until that point. Who else do I like? The mercenaries. I like the mercenaries. The characters for the mercenaries. They are not big in the story, in the campaign, but those are characters that I like. And you guys know that I don't like the mercenaries as a mechanic in the game. Normally, I criticize the decision of introducing mercenaries to D4 because in past games, not only in D4, but in any game that has mercenaries, I never liked them. But I have to say, they did them right in D4. I am liking the mercenaries mechanic in D4. So this is a weird compliment that I am giving to them. They converted me. If you do mercenaries right, they can be cool. And I think they did mercenaries right. I like the characters. I like how they work. I like the den where you are with all the mercenaries. It feels like a group of friends. It is awesome. The mercenaries are awesome in D4, and the characters are really cool. You get to know them when you do the campaign to get them. This quest that he has right here. And those are one of my favorite characters, and they are not even in the campaign. Who else do I like in the campaign? Akarat. Akarat is cool. And Mephisto, maybe. He's the villain, so you have to kind of like him because everything is fighting Mephisto. Who do I dislike a lot? My own character. My own character does some stupid shit, and it feels weird that you kind of don't like your own playable character. Maybe that is why some games go the route of your character not saying anything because they don't want the player to feel weird about the decisions that the character takes, right? So, yes. This right
I
here
think
is a
like
mercenary.
most people
He's
don't
cool.
really play D4 for like the story. And I would say that the campaign, like, that's definitely a good thing. It's a good thing.
So he says that a lot of people don't play D4 for the story, and that is a good thing in this campaign because it probably sucks. Brother, is that true? Like, most people don't play D4 for the story. I feel like a lot of people, maybe not most people, but a lot of people, maybe he's right that not most people, but a lot of people play D4 for the story, right? Because the Diablo IP is big. A lot of people have been playing since D2, D3, and they are following up the story, even if they don't play the games normally. Like, there are a lot of people that just buy the game, they play the campaign to see what is happening in the Diablo universe, and they forget about Diablo until a new chapter for the campaign comes out, and they don't care about seasons of any of that. I know this is not a big part, probably, of the player base, but there are players like that for sure. So there is a lot of people that care about the story. So, and I would say that I am one of those persons, like, I also like the seasons, and I keep up with it and everything. But I do like the Diablo universe, right? This campaign sucks, but in general, the Diablo IP, like Sanctuary and the High Heavens and the Burning Hells, and all of that is cool. I like this IP, right? So I am interested in seeing what happens in the story. But obviously, maybe a lot more of the player base goes into the part of blasting, killing demons, and that is what they want to do. Do a build, do a cool build, fun build, kill a bunch of demons, and have a good time, right?
For sure.
What are you doing, Baldy? The Cyber.
What, do they play it? Oh, they like the build optimization. I like playing the game. They like the combat.
Exactly. A lot of people play because of the build making and the build making, and the combat feels good in a sense. Like I have said this a ton of times. I love playing Diablo. Moving my character feels good. Like moving around, evading, throwing my skills. It feels fluid, in my opinion, way better than the combat in PoE 1. I am hoping that PoE 2 it is better than D4, of course. I like the D4, the way your character moves better in D4 than in PoE and Last Epoch. But the thing where D4 is the worst, it is in the behavior of the mobs and the bosses. The mobs suck and the bosses suck, right? So that is weird because the combat is not only what you do, but you and your opponent make the combat. So your movement is awesome. The enemy's movement and the mechanics and the way they telegraph stuff sucks big dig in D4. It is the worst of. It is like one of the worst things I have seen in any kind of game, not only in ARPG, right? And if they make good, cool bosses, it could be like the best game ever. I hope the Citadel bosses are good because all the other bosses in this game suck. So I do like how my character plays and feels, but I dislike a lot what some mobs do and the bosses suck.
I think that Blizzard still has the same problem with combat that they've had for a long time, which is I think the mechanics in the game are just really not very good.
And that's my point. What does he mean by mechanics? Because if he means about your own character, I don't agree because I think my character moves great. But if he means the mechanics of the mobs and the bosses, I agree 100%. I agree 100%. That sucks. You know?
Like there's just a lot of things that like they'll spawn underneath you. It's hard to even see that they're there.
That is true.
Sometimes things will instantly kill you. Other times they won't do damage.
Oh, that is true. And I didn't think about that until he said it, brother. It is hard to gauge how much damage you are going to take in D4. That is true. Like sometimes, for example, a fireball is coming at you and it hits you and it doesn't do any damage. But a little after, the same fireball hits you and it one-shots you. So you can't effectively gauge how much damage things do and how much damage you can take because it is so random that you don't know. That is a good point, brother, that I haven't thought about until he said it, but it's true. That happens to me a lot. It is hard to gauge how much damage things do, and at the point that your best strategy is just to try to avoid the most amount of damage, and it is hard to do because the telegraph suck and the way that things are drawn on the floor suck and the mechanics. You understand what I'm trying to say?
I think the bosses were kind of shitty.
The bosses suck, and not only in this expansion, bosses in D4 suck. I don't know still about the Dark Citadel. I hope they are good because that game mode is completely based around having cool bosses, right? It is a raid-like environment. You have to have good bosses, so I hope they are good. But outside of that, all the bosses in D4 suck. Every boss, Lilith sucks, Andariel sucks, Duriel sucks, all the Uber bosses suck. The bosses in this campaign sucks. The bosses in the dungeon suck. The bosses in the first campaign suck. Like, do I like a boss in D4? Probably one, which is the first boss in the Act 1 in the first game. Like, not the demon that you do like in the tutorial, but the big blood bishop that is not really a blood bishop that you do with Vigo, which is the big soldier, and he gives you like a force shield. That boss is like the best boss in Diablo 4, in my opinion. I like that boss a lot. And all the bosses suck. If they follow that same philosophy for all of the other bosses will be awesome, but they suck. And I like doing bosses. Bosses is one of the coolest things you can do in a game if they are good, and D4 is fumbling bosses hell. Uber Lilith was supposed to be cool, and she's probably the worst boss in the game, so dude.
I think there's probably one good boss.
Which one?
I can't think of which one it is, but I'm sure there's probably one.
Exactly, there isn't.
Yeah, red on red circle.
Not even the final boss, by the way. Not even the final boss is cool in this expansion. At least in the first one, you have like Lilith, that it wasn't the greatest boss, but it wasn't that bad. It was a good enough final boss. Not good enough final boss. In Vessel of Hatred, in my opinion, that boss sucks. And not the character, the boss, playing the boss, the mechanics, fighting the boss.
Yeah, exactly. Name one boss? I don't remember. Story's done? Yeah, story's pretty much done.
And it sucks. It isn't that much that it sucks. It is more than... It does suck. But it is like nothing happened. That is the problem I have with the story. You did a bunch of stuff, but at the same time, the story didn't move forward a lot. This felt like a quick storyline you could have condensed to something that happens in a season, right? Like the stuff that happened in the 5th season with the Triune was almost as cool as this or cooler than this, right? Brother, you could, like, they overextended something that could have taken so much less time. So they drag this out and nothing really happens. The end was anticlimactic. The end of the campaign. They show you a trailer or a cinematic after you complete the campaign, and I think that cinematic is really cool. It got me hyped up, so I like that. But that is after you finish the campaign. In the mid-end of the campaign, it sucks. The whole campaign, it is like you are walking around doing a bunch of stuff, but you are truly doing nothing. That is how it felt to me. But that cinematic at the end was hype as fuck.
Yeah, it was okay, I guess.
No, it was mediocre, brother.
Yeah, like
they did a campaign just to get it over with, like something like that. It feels weird. In a game with a cool universe and a cool AP, it doesn't feel, you know, I don't know.
I think the end of the story was like really annoying.
Exactly. I said no.
Like, why did the guy trust? Like, you're gonna trust the demon that just lies to people, and he's like literally the demon of hatred. You're gonna trust that he's gonna. Why would you do that?
So yes, that is why Eru fell off. He said it, so I am going to say it. Eru fell off because he trusted Mephisto, basically. So I liked Eru before of that, but then he goes and do this, and now he sucks because he betrayed us, right? He betrayed us. Now, the perspective that you can't trust the demon, of course we say it from here, from outside the game, like, yeah, don't trust the demon. But the demon lore in real life, like in religions that have demons, the thing about demons is that they lie and they trick you and they manipulate you and they convince you to do crazy shit, right? That is the lore for demons in real life. So it is not out of nowhere that a demon could convince someone in the game to do something, because that is what demons do, right? Outside from being mean and bad or an evil, they trick people, they convince people. So for the biggest, baddest demon, because supposedly among the 3 prime evils, yes, maybe Diablo is like the strongest, but Mephisto is the smartest. I have, maybe I am wrong, but I have heard that. So, like, if the smartest demon is trying to convince you, it is not out of question that he could convince you, right, in this story, because that is what demons do. But at the same time, Eru didn't feel like the character, it felt like they didn't build up enough. Like, yes, there were hints that this could happen. And just before it happened, yes, there were hints. But at the same time, they didn't build it enough. I don't know if Eru was the character for this. It fell out of nowhere, so I guess they were going for something that felt out of nowhere, but it felt out of nowhere because it didn't make sense. Like, there are plot twists that are good, and there are plot twists that are bad, right? Like, the plot twists that you don't expect, but they make sense, those are the good plot twists, right? Like, oh, it makes sense that this happened, and I didn't see it coming. This is awesome. But the plot twists that you didn't see coming because they don't make sense, they are stupid because, yes, of course you didn't see it coming. It doesn't make sense, brother. So this one felt like that, you know. So I think that a lot of people are not going to like this plot twist.
And then also, like, that we didn't torture the guy to figure out where Akarat was, and we tried to, like, understand why he did that. Like, what do you mean, why did you do that? You sold out everybody to summon the fucking, like, a prime evil into the world.
This is true, but that is what happens at the end of the game, and that doesn't make any sense. They let go the dude, Eru, that basically freed Mephisto, and they don't ask him what he did. Brother, you have the Wanderer, me, that I am really powerful. I can beat the shit out of this dude and make him tell me what did he do so we can stop it or do something about it. But no, this end felt as stupid as the ending before in the base before, where everybody leaves this little girl make the decision about the biggest prime evil and go around with the stone, and nobody does anything. And this is happening again in here. So yes, this dude freed Mephisto and he knows where he's at, but we are not going to ask him at least, or torture him, or beat the shit out of him for him to say this information to us. We are just going to let him be. Oh, let him be, brother, and go and do other stuff. That doesn't make any sense at all, and that is not something that would happen in the real world, and that is not something that would happen once you really think about it in the Diablo world. This is a ruthless world, and they are not going to beat the shit out of him to take this information out of him. Nah, brother, that is not true. That is not happening. That completely breaks your immersion, dude.
Like, there's no like what are you talking about? Like, half of the decorations in this game are torture devices, and there's not even the consideration to torture him to figure out where he put the body.
Exactly.
It just didn't make any sense.
There are a lot of plot holes in Diablo as a whole, by the way. I have a video, a really old video, like from when Diablo 4 launched, where I am talking about all the plot holes that are in Diablo, and there are a lot. and not all. There are more than I don't even know about, but there are a lot of plot holes in this shit.
Yeah. This is really good. I can't fault someone for being convinced. I agree on the stone. He's good at convincing. I don't know. I mean, I feel like if you're going to believe the demon of hatred, like, it's just kind of a bit of an own goal, you know?
It is an own goal, but that is the point, right? I am trying to be like the devil's advocate in here. Of course, in the story it doesn't make sense because Eru has been fighting Mephisto with the Wanderer for a long time. They know this Mephisto guy is bad and they shouldn't listen to him, right? That is what happens. But at the same time, at least taking into account the lore of demons from real life, I don't really know if this applies to Diablo 4. The thing that demons do the most in the religions that believe in demons in real life is convince people, whisper to people, and convince people to do crazy shit. So, but they lie a lot. So one of the ways they do it is not showing themselves as demons. That is a pretty important part of this. And as an Asmongold is saying in here, he's the literal Lord of Hatred, and Eru knows he's the Lord of Hatred. One of the ways demons convince people in lore in real life is not revealing themselves as demons, right? And that is why people trust them, because they don't know they are literal demons. So that is a big component in here.
So, yeah, I mean, it was okay, I guess. Like, there were components of it that were good, but I think it definitely got worse at the end.
Like the majority, I'll be honest, like 80 or 90% of the campaign is throwable. You could do with only 10% and the same thing would be happening. That is my honest opinion. That 10% is cool, but everything else sucks. And really, the final cinematic, I want to stress this out. And I don't know if I am, like, not everybody thinks this. This is my personal opinion. The final cinematic that happens after you complete the campaign is hype as fuck. It is really cool. Oh, but I want to say that $40 for this is a lot of money. Like, I don't know if this is worth $40. They will argue that they are not only selling the campaign, but they are selling the class, the Spiritborn, and they are selling the Dark Citadel and all the new systems or whatever. But I can see this at $25. Maybe 20 is a little low. I know that a lot of people want it at 20. I don't know if Blizzard would ever do that. At 25, I think it's fair, probably. But 40 is expensive for this. I, of course, didn't pay $40. I live in a third world. I don't have $40 lying around for a game. What did I do? I farmed gold in World of Warcraft. I farmed BOE in the Nerubar Palace as soon as the raid released. I got some drops. I sold them in the auction house. I exchanged my WoW tokens for Battle.net balance, because you can buy WoW tokens in the auction house with gold, and then the tokens you change them for a Battle.net balance, and with the Battle.net balance, I bought the Diablo 4. That is what I do. I don't even pay for the subscription. I pay with gold, buying WoW tokens with gold.
I think that the amount of dialogue that happened that was like this weird chanting language was like off-putting.
Hey, true, brother. It was like they don't know what to say, and characters just say random stuff. Haramakari-kuri! And that is what they say. And it goes for a minute and a half, 45 seconds of they just saying random stuff like, who is enjoying watching this? Who likes this? And I don't care if internally that means something. Like, Blizzard knows what this means, because they hired a language specialist and he invented this language. I don't give a fuck about that. In the game, when you are playing, as Asmongold is saying here, it is off-putting. What the fuck are you saying in here, brother? And it goes, and it goes, and it goes, and it goes. It keeps on going, and it is stupid.
That was weird.
It is weird.
What would you rate it out of 10? The campaign?
The whole game. The whole game for me went for like 2 ratings. Like for 4 to 5 with the expansion, it went up the whole game. The campaign, this campaign is inferior to the base game, right? But the whole game, I like the mercenaries. There are cool stuff around. I haven't tried the Citadel, but it is there. The whole game went from a 4 to a 5 or from a 5 to a 6. That is what happened in here, basically. In my opinion. He's rating the campaign.
I think it's like a 5.
A 5.
I would give it a 5.
For him, the campaign is a 5. Okay. I can agree
I'd
with
say
that,
a 5.
for sure. The campaign sucks, so I can agree with that. But for me, the campaign is like a 4. I am giving the whole game a 5 or a 6. The whole game. The campaign is like a 4. But a 5 is a how do you say this? It's a fair review. Like, I can agree with that. I can get behind that.
Gameplay? It's like, again, a lot of the bosses in the game, like,
they suck.
I think that the way that mechanics and abilities in the game are telegraphed is really bad.
Exactly, I said that earlier. It sucks, dick. It is awful, brother.
And I think that the only way that people don't see that is that the game is mainly made for casuals, and casuals don't understand the game well enough to understand that.
And they ignore the mechanics. They don't go to the ultra hard difficulties. They go to difficulties where they can ignore mechanics, and who cares? And the people that actually play the game just do builds that or can ignore mechanics because they are really tanky, or just one-shot bosses before they do any mechanics. So if the optimal way of playing the game is ignore mechanics, you are doing something wrong in here, brother. Like, casuals ignore mechanics because they don't go deep enough into the game. Hardcore players ignore mechanics by with two ways of doing it. One is, or they are really tanky and they don't die from mechanics, or they just one-shot the boss and they ignore mechanics that way. What is the most famous way of killing Lilith? One-shot her. Don't allow her to do the mechanics because the mechanics are stupid. Who is going to learn all that bullshit that she does that it is basically impossible to dodge? I know that some people did it, but it is stupid. So what do? You one-shot her, and it is easy. You don't have to worry about any of the mechanics because the mechanics are stupid, are boring. You don't want to figure them out, so you one-shot her. What are the mechanics in Duriel or in Andariel or in the other bosses? Gregoire, Barshan, Seer, the Lord of Blood, and the other one, the Beastie Knights. What are the mechanics? I don't know because I go in there, I two-shot them, and that is it. They don't have mechanics. They do have, but they suck. Nobody cares about the mechanics of these bosses. These are not real bosses. They are loot piñatas. Let's be honest in here, guys. This is what is happening in here. So, yes, they have to improve the bosses. They have to come up with cool bosses because the optimal way of playing D4 is ignoring the bosses in D4 is ignoring the mechanics of the bosses. This is not good design. Let's be honest in here. This is not good boss design. This is not good game design in general. And that is my honest, real opinion as someone that really likes bossing in games in general. Bossing is the thing that I enjoy the most. I see games like when you are doing menial stuff, that is filler content. What I really want to do is fight bosses. That is why in World of Warcraft, my favorite game mode is Raiding because I want to fight cool bosses. And you only do it once a week. I want in WoW a spammable way of fighting bosses. If existed something like Mythic Plus but without trash, just bosses, that would be my favorite game mode.
And the hardcore players just overgear it to where they can kill the bosses without having to do the mechanics. But
can you say the thing that I said? Exactly. What you do, you gear yourself up or to take the hits and don't worry about them, or to one-shot the boss, and you don't do mechanics. Who cares?
I think that if you actually like take an objective look at like how abilities and spells occur in the game, and the way that hitboxes and movement works, I think that it's pretty it's pretty bad.
It sucks. I completely agree with you, Asmongold. This is the reason why we watch Asmongold, by the way. He has a lot of good takes. This is one of them. And brother, it sucks. It sucks dick. The bosses in the Force of Dick.
And I think Uber Lilith was probably like a really good example of that.
Exactly, like I said.
But there's like other examples as well.
All the bosses are a good example. Every boss.
You know, Musk out of 10. No one plays Diablo for the raids. Yeah, no, I know, but like that's just what I did.
Well, that can change now that they are releasing the Dark Citadel. Let's see if it is good enough, right?
So like that, I'm giving my feedback on what I did.
I completed the campaign, but I haven't played the Dark Citadel, so I can't say anything about that yet. When I do the Dark Citadel, I will make a video talking about that.
So yeah, is this Blizzard's last chance lost? No, I mean, I don't really, I think the campaign is kind of silly, but the truth is that the campaign isn't really...
But they improved the game overall. The game is going to continue to move forward. I don't see this like, oh, Blizzard fucked up and the game is dead. No, that is not what is happening in here. But it could be better, and this is not the thing that is going to change the game to bring a lot of new players or change the world or anything. So maybe that doesn't accomplish what Blizzard wanted to accomplish, right? It doesn't meet their expectations.
The entire component of the story, right? It's not the only component of the story. So I don't hate that, right? Or think it's like bad or anything like that, but I don't think it's great either. That a lot of reused mobs. Yeah, they're definitely reused mobs.
Like you are in a different part of the world, fighting a different kind of enemies, and you are killing the same dudes. It doesn't make sense.
I think that really this is the game that needs to be judged based off of its actual combat gameplay rather than just like the story.
That is true. That is true. Like you do the campaign one time, you get out with it. It is just a portion of the game. Then we get to the end game, which is where we are going to spend a lot of our time, right? That is why I say that the game as a whole went a little bit up, because they improved the game in terms of like the itemization and end game activities. They gave you the Dark Citadel. They gave you a season with the Wanderer. They improved the Infernal Horse. They improved Nightmare Dungeons. They improved the Pit. They gave you the difficulties that, in my opinion, there are too many difficulties, but at least they reward that. They gave you progression. They did the change to the Paragon board. So there are things that are improving the game, but the campaign sucks. That is why I give the campaign like a 4, but the game overall improved. But we are still, again, I just finished the campaign. I am doing a little bit of stuff after the campaign, but I haven't done all the end game, and I haven't done the Dark Citadel. After I do all of that, there comes a review about the real state of the end game, which is basically the important part in a game like this.
So, yeah, that's about it.
That's about it. So yes, guys, Asmongold said his piece. The game is mid. I completely agree with him. The campaign is less than mid. The campaign sucks. He said a lot of good points in here that I completely agree. And he inspired us to talk a lot about the game in general, the actual state of the game, where they can go from here, and all of that. Let me know in the comments below what you think about all of this. I, of course, thank Asmongold for this video. You guys know that I love him. He's also here, has reacted to 2 of my videos, and it has been awesome for me. I know that a lot of you guys are here because of that, and I thank him and thank you for being here. Guys, let me know in the comments below what you think about all of this. Did you play the game? You didn't play the game? What did you think about the campaign? Are you playing the end game? How are you feeling it? What do you think about all of this, brother? I love reading comments even when they don't agree with me, my dude. Remember also to like the video, to subscribe to the channel, all that cool stuff. Help me out, my dude. Guys, thanks for being here. You guys are awesome. God bless you. And remember, don't be afraid ever, because this is just a ride.